Hi, and welcome to this course for head teachers and senior leaders about school exclusions. Now, I'm a solicitor who has advised schools for over 20 years about procedure and process around exclusions, and it always surprises me just how long I've actually been doing this. But aside from training heads, governors, independent review panel members and clerks, I've also sat on exclusion panels myself as a trustee and governor. So I do understand not only how difficult it can be for schools to actually make that decision to permanently exclude, but also the challenges that you face when you're preparing for the Governor's Discipline Committee meeting or the Independent Review Panel. This course is designed specifically for heads and SLT. The other courses I do relate to governors and ILP members, and I do one for clerks, and they're all based largely on the same slides and same information, but each one is tailored to the needs of that particular group. So as we go through this, it's important to bear in mind the reason that I'm suggesting you take action in the way that you do is to protect your decision making. As the operational leads, and certainly as the head, as the only person who can lawfully exclude, when you've made that decision, you want to make sure that you've got everything in place to make it robust going forwards. I'm quite often consulted by heads either after they've made the decision to permanently exclude, or sometimes after the Governor's Discipline Committee meeting, and occasionally after the IRP. And quite often, people have got themselves into a bit of a pickle only because they don't do this very often. I remember one head saying to me, "John, I've been a head for 20 years, I've never excluded anybody." And trying to unwrap the process that sits behind it in order to make it right is important. And sometimes people contact me too late. So this is all about what you need to have in place to make your decision secure and mean that you can face all the challenges that follow next in the most effective way forwards. So what I want to do today is refer you to the PDF handbook that accompanies this training, and there's a lot of guidance and information in there in more detail, and it sets out the 2017 guidance and relevant sections with some annotations. But really it's about what do you need to do and why do you need to do it. So it's about understanding in the later modules the legal basis for exclusion. What does it mean? What does the law say? How does it need to be applied? What needs to be in place to make sure those decisions are effective? It's really important that we understand about how the decision making, the investigation process, the preparing of the information for both the governors and then the independent review panel all fit together. To borrow a phrase from educationalists, it's about showing your homework, but making sure you do it in a most effective and manner that is going to be fair to the excluded pupil and their parents and carers, but also demonstrates the right information is there in the first place. So we will be talking about process, we will be talking about policies, and a lot of the time it's not the decision that gets challenged, it's the way that decision was arrived at. Managing the pitfalls and understanding your role and others in this process can be a great help. So over the course of the modules, what we're going to look at is what's the law about an exclusion? What is an exclusion? How does it all fit together? What about the nature of the guidance? We'll absolutely talk about the importance of policies, not necessarily just your behaviour and exclusions policy. We need to work out the rules around who can exclude and why. What needs to be in place? It's really important that you have a really clear understanding about the functions and the roles of different people at different stages of the process. Again, having that underpinning knowledge helps make sure your decisions are more robust. We also need to look at how the investigation works. What information should you be aiming to gather? How should that be done? We'll look at witness statements from pupils, from members of staff and from members of the public. We'll then look at any equality and diversity and disability issues that come into play. We know from the statistics that the most likely groups of children to be excluded are those with SEN, either identified or yet to be identified, and children from certain ethnic groups, Roma and traveller children, Afro-Caribbean black boys, are always in the highest groups of exclusion statistics. When we're looking at statistics like that, it's important to also bear in mind that another route of challenge to the decision can be to the first tier tribunal if it's on the basis of discrimination. So we then also need to look at how the review process works. Both the internal review process before it even goes to your governors. What happens at the Governor's Discipline Committee meeting? What if people want to go onto an independent review panel? What are the timelines? What are the mechanisms? What information needs to be in place? There is the possibility of taking the complaint to the courts, either through judicial review, which is incredibly rare. And in fact, since 2017, there's only been one judicial review case reported. Or by looking to the tribunal on the cases on arguments around disability discrimination. And also, throughout all of these modules, we'll be talking about the practical considerations. What do you need to have in place? What checklists will help you? What information should go in letters? So it should all build up into a pack of information that helps you get the decision-making process around exclusions right.